this Slivko looking concentrated, calm, collected here. Zenio, meanwhile, I mean, he needs to pull things back and actually get this going as well. It's going to be Ohana for our second game here, and we'll see if he can actually adapt his style.
Yes, we will. Well, Zenio is a very strong and seasoned player. I think he has a good chance.
Yeah, Ohana's one of those maps that in ZVZ you take all of the edges in the very, very mobile section of the strategic positionings that you can actually go for in ZVZ. There's a lot of potential for counterattacks. There's a lot of open air to really kind of start exploiting things. And also there's a lot of really early game shenanigans that you can actually pull off on this map.
Indeed there are. Well, let's get into this game. Introduce these players down here in the bottom right. From Team Liquid, could they win every tournament this weekend? It is Zenio.
And spawning up to the top left-hand corner here as our Blue Zerg. He's one game up right now in one of his, I would say, his strongest matchups. We do have VP BenQ's Slivko.
That's actually really interesting to hear that this is one of his most powerful matchups. Well, let me just verify this with you, because for me, this might be his second best, because I just feel like Slivko is such a ZVP specialist.
That's true, actually. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree there. Slivko, in terms of ZVZ, ever since I started really hunkering down on the EU scene and seeing him in a lot of weekly tournaments, seeing him in Intel Extreme Masters qualifiers, seeing him in WCS, his ZVZ has actually taken him a long, long way. But you're right, his ZVP is absolutely formidable. If he can just get past the first 10 minutes of his ZVP, it's nigh on impossible to actually go toe-to-toe against Slivko. He just feels so comfortable once he gets past that. And actually, we can echo those sentiments for ZVZ as well. That's true, he just feels so comfortable in those later stages.
Yeah, as soon as he lived a little while, you know, he gets his third base up. I think when that hatchery completes, he's suddenly like, oh, okay.
I'm Mega Man.
Yeah, now I can macro. Now I can move around big groups of units and do good tactical plays.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really impressive.
He really benefits from that. You're right, though. He really benefits from that tactical play. He knows when to move out. Yeah. He knows which angles to come in from. He knows which sections of units to position first. It really is quite harmonious to watch sometimes.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually the Russian style all the way back from StarCraft 1. They're very good mechanically, and they're very good tactically. It has always been that way, all three races. And you can see it here in Slivko. You can kind of see it in Titan. I mean, it's a recurring theme with that area of the world, and it's so interesting how different areas evolve in different ways.
Yeah, it really, really is. I mean, we've seen into the Southeast Asia styles and mentalities this weekend, which has been absolutely fantastic, and I actually found a pleasure to watch. Our Southeast Asian representatives here have done really, really well for themselves. Yeah. And just this clash of styles here, again, if Zenio gets aggressive, I think Zenio has to adapt here, especially on a map like Ohana, where the choke is even easier to defend than on that on Daybreak. If he goes for aggression, he has to make it work flawlessly against Slivko.
Yeah, and the thing is, Slivko is so good at defense. So we'll see if Zenio actually does that, because, you know, he gets a lot of people describing him, including myself, as an aggressive player. Because in the past, you look at his games, like, well, Zenio attacks a lot. He's an aggressive player, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, it feels like he's actually expanded his game some, and we haven't been able to watch him as much. He hasn't been in as many tournaments, making it as deep as he used to. But in this one, like the games I've been watching, they're going long.
Yeah,
he's not actually doing too many attacks. I mean, yes, that last game he got very aggressive, but as you were saying in ZVZ Game 1, you don't go muted because sometimes you just randomly die, and he was trying to start this series off with a bang, with a quick win off of some Zergling Baneling aggression.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, it would have gained him a very, very nice lead had he just got a few more drones, but sadly was not able to do for the Liquid team right now. Meanwhile, in this game, we have Zenio actually opening up with Baneling Nest again. He's getting a few drones. He's getting the double Overlord, so something says to me that maybe he'll actually make a few Zerglings here, but he just start a massive round of drones once again, so maybe he is adapting his style just a little bit here.
Yeah, he could be. He's even throwing down that Spine Crawler as well, and you know, that sometimes means aggression, sometimes means defense. And with where it's placed, to me, it means that it's actually going to be defense. You know, that's not a good place to try to rally a scrappy defense round, whereas a strong defense, yeah. So I think that we're not seeing aggression from Zenio this game.
And it's the 2 Banelings as well. No doubt we'll see Slivko get those as well. He's got the Zerglings positioned on his ramp to start morphing in those 2 Banelings. And those 2 Banelings just in general are really actually quite crucial. Just making sure you can deal with what your opponent's going to throw at you. Both players now going for Leia here. And right now, how many do we even have any evolution chambers down? Because that's a big signification as to what people are doing.
It truly is. If you see 2 Evos, it's almost always going to be a Ling Infestor play. 1 Evo, almost always a Roach. Roach Infestor play, and no Evos, oftentimes Muta. So, well, now we see from Slivko, he's Roach and 2 Evolution Chambers. So he's actually going for kind of the long game here.
And this is one of the aspects in ZVZ that's becoming far, far more popular nowadays. The SimCity aspect of ZVZ. Really limiting where your opponent can move near your natural and anywhere near your bases. And look at this, Zenio actually going for a 3rd here.
Yeah.
I don't think he's thrown down any evolution chambers just yet.
This is clear Muta. If you're going to throw that down at that timing, you are going Mutalisks. And we should see him make a lot of Lings from here as well, because he's going to need those to threaten counterattacks and just simply as defense, as he is taking such a quick and greedy 3rd base.
Yeah, and from this point on, I mean, with Muta, you can take that 3rd base, right? You're limiting your opponent's ability to control the map. You're killing all the overlords. You're getting Lings. You're controlling it even more. This is exactly what we were talking about at the start, with Ohana being the map for that super, super fast kind of style with the Zerglings, with the Mutalisks, trying to deny your opponent's 3rd eventually with that kind of style as well. And there's 1 or 2 ways you can actually go about it as the defending Zerg, but we'll get into that in just a bit.
Yeah. Well, Slivko is throwing down his Infestation Pits nice and quick as well, so he's going to get his Infestors out fast. And one thing I have to say that I love about his... Oh my god, he's going to lose his Queen. This is actually a huge deal, and he does lose it. Ooh, that Baneling actually almost... Oh, he gets 3 Banelings with 1 Baneling. Very well done there by Zenio. But to go back to what I was just saying about the Queens, because I don't think he's actually going to let this happen anymore, he just lost when his Queen Slivko did.
Yep.
But that 3rd Queen was actually super important because Mutas are going to be on the way.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sometimes we see Zergs actually go only 2 Queens against Muta, and if you don't have that 3rd, you can't get up to 4 to be able to walk over and actually take your 3rd at a reasonable timing. So I was happy to see that, but now with the dead, well, he's making 2 more. So Slivko, God, I'm becoming such a fan.
And I'm surprised Zenio's actually going for the Carapace here. Why is he going for the Carapace? This is very, very interesting.
He didn't see Roaches. He only saw Lings and Banes.
But he saw the Roach Warren.
Maybe he thinks it's a fake?
Yeah, that's really strange. You don't necessarily go for the Carapace when you're actually just going for... Unless your opponent's going for Mutalisks as well.
No, exactly.
It doesn't really mean too much.
No, that's the only time you would ever go for it in this matchup. Yeah, absolutely. So I think what he saw, because this is an older way to go, Muta, is actually to have a Roach Horn just in case.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what he thought.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting here. He's going to try and swing in, try and deny what he can. There is 1 Spore there, but I think he could actually no, there's 2 Queens. He can't really combat this right now, especially since one of them does have energy for transfuse. If he was to combat them, he would actually have to focus down the one with the most energy here, and they will push him back for now.
So those 3 Queens walking out, Slivko very smartly going up to 4 Queens the second he knows it's Muta. We do have Zenio right now, switching his tech route, still hasn't canceled the Flyer Carapace. So I think that's actually just a mistake is what's going on. You know, he's got so much on his mind. He's doing so much multitasking right now that he can't be bothered to remember he started that Carapace.
Yeah, he's going to actually try and go for a little bit of an aggressive move once again with those Mutalisks, trying to find some Overlords, and indeed he will do. But he gets locked down there by a few fungal growths. Doesn't catch all of them, but he can start chaining it just a little bit here. If he loses some of these Infestors, though, that might not be the best of trades.
And he's going to get 1 so far. His Mutas are so deeply in the red. 2 go down, and it looks like he'll get a 3rd, but his Mutas are basically useless, and in fact, beautiful fungal growth going down there. He may not even have a single Muta left after this.
That wasn't too bad a trade, though. Getting 3 Infestors. If you can limit your opponent's Infestor count, that's okay. But he doesn't have his own Infestors right now. So Slivko can still gather some Infestors as well as Roaches, and he should be okay.
With 0 Mutas left, basically, this 1 Muta doesn't count. It is like almost inconsequential to scout for a little bit until it dies. But losing all the Mutas that quickly, yeah, he killed 3 Infestors, but I feel like if Slivko right now just goes heavily into units, he's going to control the whole map for a while. I mean, you need these Mutas for a little bit longer.
Yeah, you really do. It's so important because now there's the potential that Slivko on 4 bases, because you need to limit. If you go Muta, there's not only the aspect of controlling the map, there's not only the aspect of trying to snipe things. Oh, Baneling going to crash into a... They almost got that actually.
He needs to bring that Muta in.
Yeah, where's that Muta, man? He's going to get like fungled, and it's like, you wasted a fungle on one Muta. That's good.
Yeah. All right, well, you know, Slivko, I love this. I love how he's playing this. You know, he says he's aggressive ZVZ. Because that was a timing after the Mutas died. He could have made units and gone under pressure, but instead he's using his map control, his superior unit count, to very quickly get this 4th base up and exacerbate that lead even more. But he has to be wary because we actually have Zenio taking that 4th base as well.
Both players getting pneumatized carapace as well, just to make sure that their overlords can be in far better positions, maybe not exploited by the fact that Hydralisks eventually come out on the map. That's always kind of scary as well. Right now, Glee Reconstitution on the way for Slivko. He's always very late with this Glee Reconstitution, actually, now that I'm looking at it. It's a weird style to play, but, I mean, he's sort of making it work. Both players are going to max out, and I think we could be in for the long run here, Artosis.
Yeah, I mean, it's beginning to really look like that. One thing I do want to point out that I love is this Overlord speed upgrade by Zenio. We don't see that enough in ZVZ. That's really going to help him out to check things without Overseers, such as Hive timings. It's going to make the Overseers faster, which is actually important sometimes in this matchup. So great moves, and both of them hiving at the same time. Wow, these guys are so on top of their game.
They really are. Zenio already has his Spire, so he doesn't have to make that, but Slivko has to recuperate that kind of little bit of a disadvantage that he has there. But still, he's stabilizing himself across a 4th base, as is Zenio. Zenio right now has the superior income because he got that going a little bit quicker, and an entire battalion of changelings come in to have a look at that 4th.
Trapping that Hydra almost there. We do have a few Lings run in. Just kind of a scout. Might kill a Queen. Doesn't look like it, though. But you know what is kind of neat here is Zenio over drone. He's up at 86 drones. That's for sure that's not how many drones you want late game unless you have like a huge spine wall and a weird unit composition. But with this type of unit composition, that's actually too many drones. So I expect to see like maybe a mass of spine crawlers coming up soon.
I like what Zenio is doing right now. He's going for trades, and he's trying to go for effective trades in the form of actually denying some of his opponents like income. And as your Hive finishes, as your Spire finishes, or as your Spire morphs into a greater Spire even, that's really, really important here. He's even starting flyer weapons as well. So now, technically speaking, the Carapace, if it goes into a late game, makes sense. Fungal's going down here, actually pushing into the 4th base, as well as those infested Terran eggs. And right now, this isn't really a fight that Zenio can actually win here. He's engaging with a small portion of his army.
I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised that he hit that timing, but his Roach is doing a little bit of damage up here at Slivko's 3rd base. He's actually killed 16 drones at this point. But, you know, he's still up so far in drones. He's at 84 against just 68 of Slivko after all those drone kills. So Zenio has to be really careful about this, especially since we have 10 Corruptors on the way. Slivko is actually reacting perfectly.
Did Zenio forget he has a Spire or something? He's getting a second one, but he isn't producing any Corruptors right now. I guess after that trade that actually occurred there, he wants to feel a little more stable. He doesn't want his opponents to push him with a huge ground count, ground army, and then just kill him right there, right then. So he's playing this slower than he would have initially anticipated and wanted to, I think.
Yeah. All right, so Zenio taking another base, but I am just loving what Slivko has going on here, man. He was down in drones. He took some more drone losses. He killed the army, and then he's going straight into broods because he realizes there's no way that Zenio can remake army and come kill him right now. This is the perfect timing to actually go ahead and grab those important broodlords.
Yeah, and actually there's a huge dynamic here that's playing out that I hit many, many times in my ZVZs. It's the 2 Spires versus the 1 Spire. Zenio here is morphing in his greater Spire and eventually will get broodlords, but also he'll have that ability to get double upgrades. Zenio's playing for the super late game ZVZ. Slivko right now is playing for the imminent right now ZVZ. He's getting a ton of broods. If he hits the timings with these broods, he should be in a great position against Zenio.
Well, so far it looks like he is hitting it. He's not taking much damage, but we do have a lot of Roaches going into the main base. Oh, I love this move. If he can take out that Greater Spire, it will be gigantic.
It would. There are 10 Broodlords morphed in, and he's actually going to get, he's going to come back here to deal with this, so that's a nice move there by Slivko to clean that up. But again, it's the mentality of Slivko has to hit this. Otherwise, it's just going going to get way out of control for Zenio. Zenio here is just saying, as long as I play defensive, as long as I keep my opponent back with these roaches and get my upgrades out for my Broodlords eventually, I am going to be in amazing form. Slivko right now somehow needs to make something happen as soon as he cleans up all of these counters. Yeah,
he really does. You know, we have so many Corruptors and some Broodlords on the way for Zenio, which is going to be super, super helpful. These little drone attacks, yeah, he's losing a lot of units, maybe not doing a ton of damage, but just keeping him back is exactly what he's aiming for.
Really is. He's got +3 weapons finishing up as well for his roaches and infested Terrans, so that is going to help him out a lot, especially if he can actually lock down the Broodlords and throw down a lot of infested Terrans under them as well. With the upgrade disadvantage that Slivko has, this is just getting out of control. I keep saying it, but it is. 2-2 is on the way right now for those flyers for Zenio, and Slivko, he's going. He needs to go right now.
Well, the problem here is 12 infestors against just a newly hatched 9 for Slivko, so Zenio's going to have way more energy for this battle, even if less broods. So that is going to make a big difference. And my God, we could see a lot of death here in the infestor counts. Beautiful fungals going down on these Hydras, and if you can pick those off, that is very nice.
Zenio's fungal control was perfect there, taking out those Hydras, really limiting the amount of anti-air he has. So now those Broodlords are so vulnerable to those Corruptors. Zenio is playing this out so well. He's got Spinecrawler walls up at his expansions here, and he's actually, I don't know if Slivko can actually battle this back because of the upgrade advantage that Zenio is eventually going to have. This is just getting too unstable.
If Zenio just sits tight and doesn't attack right now, brings the game a little bit longer, he's in perfect shape, just perfect shape. He has that additional base. His upgrades are still on the way. He needs those to kick in as well. Make some more infestors and then push. But he is pushing now. This may end up working, but not necessarily the #1 choice.
Spore Crawler's on the way for Slivko as well. He needs to make something happen. He needs to continue with this defense. All in all, 19 workers have actually been killed off here. Zenio is actually pushing in right now, trying to kill off what he can. He hits with his +2/+1 timing. There's infested Terrans everywhere. Slivko's trying to shut down as much of this as he can. Unit counting station is 6 Corruptors to 7 in favor of Zenio right now. And there's so many infested Terrans out for Zenio. I don't think this position could be broken at all by Slivko.
It doesn't look like it. Slivko now just producing 3 infestors and 2 corruptors. That tells us that his bank is just about gone. In fact, his greater spire being targeted down. And Zenio, with this attack, has taken a lead that is so large, I'm not sure it can be overcome.
Yeah, it's 50 supply up right now. He's producing so much more off the back of this. These Corruptors actually are still on the chase. They could kill off some of these Broodlords. That would be a nice pickup here from Slivko. Meanwhile, there's still roaches in the main of his opponent trying to... And they killed off the Greater Spire. There's no more Spire here for Slivko. What can he do now that he can't replenish those so important units?
Well, he has to keep pushing forward. He needs to eliminate the Corruptors because he does have a huge amount of Broodlords still, up at 10 against just 4. So against ground units, he's fine, but can he hold back the Corruptors of Zenio?
Slivko's still trying to make something here. He does have a lot of brutes, but this is all he's going to have for the remainder of the game by the looks of things, unless he actually wants to try and start replenishing that Spire. But it's still, his income is slightly waning in comparison to Zenio, and he has a lot of Corruptors now coming in for that push.
Yeah, those Corruptors are so important. He's got to get his new Hydras down here ASAP, but they are so slow off creep, it's going to take just about forever. And without enough energy on those infestors to stop these Corruptors, they are going to wipe out the Broodlords with that +2 attack upgrade.
Yeah, 2-2 versus 0-0. You can't do anything here versus Slivko, as Slivko even. I mean, how does he actually come? There's not really any way, Artosis.
Yeah, you know, you said it so well, Calaris, when you mentioned that Slivko is playing for the right now end game. And when Zenio did those few huge Roach Run buys, that was the only thing that kept him alive, because if Slivko had just attacked, Zenio would have died right there.
Yeah, Slivko now, he's trying to scramble, trying to get his Spire back up as well as some more hatcheries, trying to stabilize in some kind of economy here. But we have 15 roaches still on the way for him. They're not really going to do too much against what his opponent has right now in the form of those 4 Broodlords that are really the menacing factor here. And unless he can close the gap and get an insanely good engagement where Zenio's on some kind of move command, I don't see Slivko winning.
Yeah, it's getting pretty rough indeed. Well, you know, Slivko's still, his ground army, it is pretty mobile, so while he loses his space, he's going to have to go into a mini base trade scenario, but you know, he's not going to be mining very much at all as he loses this space, while Zenio is remaking that base on the right side, which is he can't really attack right now.
I was looking at those drones and I was like, wow, they're funny-looking broodlings. I was like, oh, wait, they are drones. So they're actually going for the combat as well here for Zenio, mixing them into his army. And right now, Slivko is just going for that crazy, crazy base trade mentality, but I still don't think it's going to work out. Zenio, wait a minute, Zenio's actually pulling back. He's making a hatchery at his opponent's base.
As he should. He needs more minerals. So
yes.
I like it. Now, he is going to take out these macro hatches, but do macro hatches matter right now? No, not really, because his unit composition is not strong enough. Beautiful fungals going down, and I think this is going to be our final engagement.
Those infestors just popped there. Zenio really, really well played in game number 2 here. Ohana is his map, apparently. Slivko is waning and down and out. 100 supply down here. Zenio, GG, 1-1 here in this CVZ.
Really beautiful comeback right there by Zenio. I tell you what, Claris, I want to hear what Jorsar, Hasuobs, and Pig have to say about it.
All right, guys, a pretty entertaining game number 2 there on Ohana between Slivko and Zenio. But ultimately, the series is now tied up 1-1. Yeah. So we're going to be looking at one particular point in that game, but we're just going to be getting to that point in the replay. In the meantime, though, Hasu, in that early game, we saw that earlier on, Slivko's third was really delayed when those lings came out. Talk us through what happened there and maybe what really, how Zenio managed to get a little bit of a foothold in that early game.
Yeah, Zenio was getting the Spire in the third base at the same time, and then he realized that he could push out with his Zerglings and Banelings to deny the third of Slivko. He killed the Queen. He got some really good Baneling detonations on the Banelings of Slivko. Slivko lost a lot of units to like only a small kind of aggression, and therefore his third was delayed for a while in the early game already. So Zenio got a really, got a lead in the early game already. And then as I said, having the Spire behind this, getting some Mutalisks, getting even more map control. Yeah. And at some point he flew in with his Mutalisks, attacking the infestors, killing some of them, but losing all of his Mutalisks. Yeah. I'm not really sure if that was worth it.
It's really interesting because he lost a lot of map control at that point, but he also got a nice trade-off, killing some infestors before they got a chance to build up energy. It's really hard in that situation to say, was it worth it or not? Because soon thereafter, we saw Slivko say, hey, all your Mutalisks are dead. I can take a nice fast fourth base. We saw Zenio try some small Lingbane aggression on that point, but he wasn't able to cancel the fourth base. And then it moved into this big economic game where we saw Zenio do some really smart moves and also some slight missteps, but he ended up using his really, really great multitasking. So let's take a look into the game at the replay, and we're going to look at a specific engagement that does go on here.
Sure. So the players went to their hive timings at around 15 minutes or so, and then specifically at around the 17-minute mark, we see a pretty interesting attack involving some roaches. Pig, why don't you talk us through what happened here?
All right, so we see here Zenio collecting his army out, posturing around the middle of the map, Slivko coming down as well, and what we see is Zenio going for a very smart roach counterattack, sending several roaches into the natural of Slivko and trying to pull him out of position. Now we saw Slivko a little bit slow to hunt these roaches down, and Zenio started posturing around the map, looking for openings, constantly sending roaches into behind the third base. And this is the point where we saw Zenio make a serious misstep. Meanwhile, he does have roaches in the main base, pulling the queens out of position, roaches in the third base, and he thought that Slivko actually pulled back, but he does make a serious misstep, moving his army up this choke point into the third base of Slivko.
Yeah, he went up the ramp, gonna get fungled, and like in a beautiful concave of Slivko, killing all the roaches and a lot of hydras. He gets away with all his infestors though, Zenio that is, and also keep in mind he made a fifth behind this. So even though he was losing a lot of units, it was not like, not like the craziest mistake, because he had like all the roaches all over the third base, natural and main base. So that was pretty cool to see.
Absolutely. I mean, if Slivko was pulled out of position, it would have been a fantastic move. And what we saw continuing throughout the game then was Zenio kept on using that multitasking style play. Despite Slivko having an advantage, he wasn't able to close it out. He was going for Broodlords and couldn't counterattack to take advantage of Zenio throwing away that large army. And Zenio, in the end game, was managed to take it down with that multitasking.
Excellent. So, guys, we have the series tied up here 1-1. Thank you so much, Pig and Hasu, for that excellent in-depth analysis. But for now, we're going to be getting out of the game and into the lobby, throwing it back over for game number 3 to our casters, Artosis and Kalaris.